We've seen huge banks like IndyMac and Countrywide crash and burn. We've watched Wall Street icons like Bear Stearns come crashing down. We've seen Robert Rubin from Citibank go to Dubai with a tin cup in his hand. And we have discovered that what used to be the mightiest of the mighty, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, are not much more than hollow shells, and in fact, last night, the federal government took them both over. In the Bush years, the Wall Street wizards have had a license to steal, and have they made the most of it? They've sliced and diced so many loans that they cannot find the underlying assets with an electron microscope. And they've been doing it all across the globe. And for the last 13 months, the Federal Reserve Chairman and the central bankers in Europe and in Asia created trillions, yes, trillions with a T, in liquidity in a vain effort to ease the subprime credit crunch. In the 6 months between last December and this past May, the Federal Reserve provided banks and investment companies over $435 billion in short-term loans. Just 3 weeks ago, the Fed upped that ante by another $25 billion in short-term loans. Why? Because the banks and the investment houses don't trust each other's numbers anymore. Without the Federal Reserve's interventions, they would refuse to loan each other funds. Now think about that for a minute. Citibank cannot trust Lehman Brothers. Wells Fargo isn't sure Morgan Stanley is a good credit risk. Forget about Countrywide. We're talking about the platinum names of global finance. So what's the big deal? They tell us it's all about subprime mortgages, and they lie. Try 47 trillion, again with a T, in almost worthless securitized loans. Try $47 trillion in unsecured and uncollateralized debt instruments floating around the globe. In the past, the bankers, the brokers, and the hedge fund wise guys have gone hog wild. They have created enormous wealth for themselves and enormous risk for the rest of us. And that's not the only economic storm system we face. We all complain about the cost of a gallon of gas, and we should. But is it far worse, or it is far worse, than shelling out another $20 each time to fill up your tank? As a gallon of gas moved up from $3.50 to $3.75, then to $4, and now $4.35 a gallon, the price of diesel fuel mounted those stair steps in lockstep. And so did aviation fuel costs rise. Try filling up a tractor trailer when the diesel is at $5 a gallon, with two 60-gallon tanks hanging on the sides. A fill-up costs $600 minimum. Or fill up the tanks of a 747 when jet fuel is $5.34 per gallon. A cross-country flight will burn 36,000 gallons and burn through over $200,000 in 5 hours. What's that have to do with the cost of anything? Everything. As the cost of a barrel of oil hovers between $120 and $150, that's $150, our jobs begin to vanish. Manufacturers like Freightliner shut down their production lines, and our members head off to the unemployment line. When United grounds its fleet of 747s, the good old Ted stops flying, our members on the ramps and behind the customer contact desk start getting pink slips. Those rising prices are like the upturned leaves of the trees before a major storm, just nature's early warning device. So here we sit today in Orlando. The smart money on Wall Street is heading for the doors. The banks, the brokerages, the insurance companies, and the hedge funds are drowning in their own debt. The upward spiral of fuel and food prices picks our members' pockets. The unemployment lines are lengthening slowly, deliberately, and menacingly. And if we are absolutely candid with each other, we know our political leadership cannot do much about it. In Ottawa, Canada, the government couldn't give a damn about working families. In Washington, D.C., the government, the Bush administration, has posted a sign that says, "Out to lunch." You know, and I know, we've been in a recession for over a year now, and the Bush administration still cannot get its act together. For the next president, George W. Bush has left a crippling legacy, a one-year federal deficit of $500 billion, and a country that is hopelessly in hock to the communists in China and the oil sheiks of the Middle East. Where is all of this going to end? No place good for the working men and women of this world. On that you can count. In this union of ours, we have a lot of very smart people, very decent people. We are people who want only the best for our families, our communities, and our employers. And there was a time, and I can remember it, when there was, from at least some people in management, a certain feeling of reciprocity. That feeling is gone, long gone. In the world as it is today, we confront across the bargaining table the cold-blooded, single-minded true believers in a ruthless business ideology. To them, workers are the enemy. And in dealing with us, their objective is simple: to give nothing and to take everything. That's why everybody needs a strong union. It's a fact of life. Either you get a union, a strong, tough union, or you get the shaft. Corporate recruiters today go into business schools all over the world looking for the two-legged equivalents of Rottweilers, attack dogs. These folks have been trained to believe that the corporate bottom line trumps everything. To workers, to communities, to values, even to nations like the United States and Canada, they have no loyalties at all. Brothers and sisters, remember that people like this rule the business world today. And for too damn long, they've also run the governments of the United States and Canada. That must change. If we are to protect our jobs, if we are to protect our freedoms, then we cannot just sit there and wait for Tinkerbell to sprinkle angel dust over these menaces to society.